UFC Fight Night 216. One of the fights that we got on the main card is Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. Now look, I'll be honest. I think this is flying under the radar for most people. Not really being talked about. Not one of the fights that's really coming up that people are paying attention to. And I think that's a disservice. I think that's doing a disservice to the fight, to the fighters. And I think, in a way, fans are doing a disservice to themselves. Because I think this one's going to be a banger. I think both of these guys got dog in them. I think both of these guys show up to fight each and every time. I think neither one wants to lose. I think they're both at this critical point in their career where they really need to make something happen. I mean, you look at both of them, they've got some losses. Majority of their fights are wins, but they've got some losses. They've worked up the ranks in the past. They've made some moves. Neither one of these guys are getting any younger. For either one of them to get another loss on their record at this point, it's not going to bode too well. You're talking about going out there and fighting for the belt at some point. You're talking about trying to make these big moves. You're talking about putting together bigger and bigger fights, possibly getting a main event, possibly going to pay-per-view. Dude, you need to put together wins. You can't look good in a loss. You can't go out there and put together back-to-back losses. You got to go out there and do some show-stopping. You got to go out there and put somebody on their back. You have to go out there and get a check in the W column. So both of these men are going to be highly motivated for this one. Now, when I first heard this one get announced, Drew Dober versus Bobby Green, first thought that came to my mind was Drew Dober's got this one. I mean, I don't want to make it seem like Bobby Green's a bum. I don't want to make it seem like he was going to run through him. But the first thought that came to my mind was that Drew Dober's got this one. And the reason for that is because I'm such a fan of his technique. Dude, he's a pure striker. Okay, now what I mean when I say that is you can tell that that's what his background is. That's what he shows up to do. His striking is crisp, man. The technique is good. His kicks, the way he bounces around and he's light on his feet, just the way that he's able to move, the way he explodes in with his punches, solid left hand, solid right hook. The man does good work. Head like a fire hydrant, goes in there. He can take some solid shots from guys. There's a lot to like. Now that being said, I wasn't just going to run over here and make a video about how Drew Dober's going to run away with it. I'm not just all of a sudden going to jump out there and put my money on the man without breaking the film down. And as soon as I started to break the film down, I began to question my initial position. Because the first thing I noticed was that Bobby Green was better than I remembered. It was in my mind of how he got blown out of there in the first round by Islam Makhachev. But when I started to break down his last, 4 fights or so, I started to remember how Bobby Green put himself in a position to get that fight in the first place. And it's because the man knows how to fight. Now look, when these two step into the octagon, I don't expect there to be too much wrestling. I don't expect this to go to the ground and be a jiu-jitsu affair. I expect this to be striking. That's right in both men's alley. That's right what they're both looking for. Bobby Green knows how to strike. Okay? He comes in. Dude couldn't have his hands lower. Isn't even any tension in his shoulder. Hands all the way down hanging down around his knees. I mean, his arms aren't that long, but you get what I'm saying. But he goes in there and he's just completely loose. And that really goes against the vast majority of principles that you're gonna learn when you start striking. But he finds a way to make it work for him, right? He finds a way to get his shots off. Finds a way to get out of the way of punches. He slips and slides. He rolls. He's got this modified movements of like a Philly shell type defense that he uses. Footwork isn't phenomenal, but it's just enough to kind of get out of the way. And he finds a way to get his punches off. He slips in little shots here and there. Finds a way to get the right hand going. Just overall, very educated striker. Even though it's not necessarily the way that everybody else makes it look. Loves to come forward and apply pressure and walk you down, but at the same time, knows how to fight going backwards. That being said, the man's not perfect. He does get caught with some shots. We've seen that in the past as well. Now, standing across from him is going to be Drew Dober. Okay? Now, Drew Dober, as I mentioned, has very good technique. But he gets caught with some shots too. And that's really the thing that in my mind stands out about him. It's the way we saw Brad Riddell land that right hand. Now, you want to look and you want to say, but look, Brad Riddell, man. I mean, look what he brings to the table. The man's over there training and teaching Muay Thai over in Thailand. You see what he brings, you see what he does, and what he's able to do in the octagon when it comes to the striking. Of course, Brad Riddell's going to be able to get some shots off. Are you suggesting that because Brad Riddell's able to do it, that everybody's able to do it? Look, that's not what I'm saying at all, but my point is this. Brad Riddell was able to find that right hand pretty quickly in that fight with Drew Dober, and he was able to land it over and over. We've seen Drew Dober get caught in between his punches multiple times. Okay? Here's the thing. When he comes in pretty straight. Doesn't use a lot of head movement. Keeps it on the center line. Now, it's easy to disguise it a lot because of how fast and explosive he is. He's easy to disguise it because he's throwing such hard shots and they're accurate. That's keeping his opponent busy. But when you get a guy who knows how to strike, when you get a guy who knows how to time you coming in and try to punch either with you, before you, in between your shots, if you're known for coming in on combinations, Drew Dober's there to be hit. And we've seen that in the past with guys who knows how to strike. We've seen that in the past with guys who know how to pick those things apart. And I think Bobby Green is going to be one of those guys, right? So I could 100% I could see this fight going either way. You come back to me, you say Drew Dober comes away with the victory. I totally could see that, and I could probably tell you how. It's because he's got these strong leg kicks, and we've seen the way that Fiziev was able to hit Bobby Green with those kicks to the body, right? And it was because of just tearing him up with those hard kicks to the body that was able to open up some punches. He was able to get the victory. So if you tell me that Drew Dober is going to be able to come in there and he's going to be able to land hard kicks of his own, from there he's going to be able to start getting some punches off. He's lighter on his feet, so he's able to bounce around a little bit and move, change the distance. I could see that happening. That being said, if you come back to me and you were to tell me Bobby Green won, I could see that as well. Because I think he's going to be able to find that right hand. The same one that Brad Riddell was able to find against Drew Dober, I think he's going to be able to find it. I think when Drew Dober's coming in, he's bouncing around, he's moving, it's looking good. But when he closes the distance and explodes, I think Bobby Green's going to be able to find that timing and he's going to be able to land some shots. I think he's going to be able to land a check left hook eventually and roll his way out of there, get a lot of steam out of the punches and out of the shots that Drew Dober's throwing, back his way out. I think he's going to be able to start to walk forward eventually, once he starts to get that timing and that rhythm, and he can kind of get his upper body going and his head movement, and he can start to kind of get out of the way, start to land some good counters and lead with some stuff. I think he'll start to be able to back Drew Dober up at times, which is going to put Bobby Green in an advantageous position. So I could see a path to victory for either one of these men, and I could see a very reasonable way that either one of them could implement those paths. Right? This is like really, truly, in a lot of ways, a 50-50 fight for me. But if I had to look at the line, I mean, Bobby Green's the slight underdog. He's going off at like a plus 135. So I think, even in a 50-50 fight, there's a little bit of value there. But at the end of the day, I think the man who's going to get his hand raised, I think it's going to be Bobby Green. I think he's going to find a way to get it done. I think he's going to land those shots. He's going to be slippery and he's going to be elusive. It's only 3 rounds. So I think he'll be able to, work some kicks here and there up the middle, just enough to be able to get it done. I don't think either man's going to be able to get away with the finish. They're both tough as nails. But I think it'll probably be, 2 rounds to 1, maybe a little bit controversial in the sense that these were very close rounds and either men could have walked away with the nod. 29-28. Bobby Green comes away with the victory. Be careful. Be careful if you're talking about throwing anything on it. Like I said, I think it's a 50-50 fight. There's only the slightest bit of value in the sense that Bobby Green's going off at plus 135. But hey, if you'd like to live on the edge, it's there for you, right? So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Drew Dober's going to find a way to come out with a victory in this one? Like I said, not many people are talking about it. Both of these guys are kind of definitely flying under the radar, but that doesn't mean it won't be a good fight. Who do you think will come out with the victory? Let me know.